So next thing is, how did your class feel? Like, I know that they made a whole bunch of changes to classes, and I know you play Rogue, so I'm wondering if you noticed any like differences just on a class level. Like, did it feel weird or anything? I know necromancers were pissed.
Yeah, they was in flames. Yeah.
But it apparently rightfully so, because they did like a hot fix. But um a rogue connoisseur like yourself, how did it feel?
Um, Rogue felt generally fine. The reduction in legendary drop rate kind of impacted the fun factor a bit. Reason being is because the resource management kind of took center stage,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure what the experience is like for other classes, but like in this case, you kind of were in a situation where you would do like 2 moves, and then you gotta regenerate your resource. And so, like, if you're running, like, penetrating arrow or, like, twisting blades, you
Mhm.
get, like, 2, 3 if you're lucky. Like, if you get a little bit of reduction somewhere, you get, like, 3 penetrating arrows or, like, 3 twisting blades, and now you're right back to your basic skill, I think it's called, or core skill? Basic skill? I think basic skill.
Yeah, we'll work
Um,
on that. We'll work on all the
yeah.
terminology.
Yeah, and then, like, you right back on that, and then the generation per hit is also really low. So you don't get back to doing the cool thing for a little while. I think that in the first beta, you found more things to kinda help offset that, so it kinda masked it a little bit. But in this one, because the drop rate were so low, there was no way to mask it, so you just had to deal with it. So it's like in a 10-second span, your gameplay experience is like weak, 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 strong, strong, weak, 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 run, 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 weak, 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 strong, strong, run, run, run. And it just felt like um just don't feel that strong. You just feel like everything that you're hitting, you're just lacking. You feel like you're lacking. And I mean, managing resources is cool and all, but damn, yo, it'd be nice to fire off a couple more of those big powerful arrows, or get a couple more of those twisting blades off, or some combination of the two. It felt like this beta a lot more often. I heard my character talking about how they didn't have enough resource, or that their skill wasn't ready. So I've coined this new beta, um, Diablo 4, my I am not ready yet, or Diablo 4, I need more time.
Yep. I need more fury. That I never knew how it sounded so much as with this beta. Like, I play Barbarian. I played Barbarian previously in the beta. This is my first Diablo, but I fell in love with Barbarian. Uh Barbarian felt good to me. Like, yeah, there was, resource issues, but it's level 20. I mean, it's level 20. I can understand. We're not gonna be like uber strong, so fine. But overall, Barbarian felt good to me. I play a bleed Barbarian, so no whirlwind, no thorns. Just, I do everything to bleed, but that. I had to run like a shout this time, and I was able to tweak my build based on like some learnings from the previous beta to like the server slam, and what the server slam actually had going on, like just being able to adapt. And then based on the aspects I was able to get a hold of and the stats on the gear that dropped, I was able to make something that really worked for me. I don't have any issues with Barbarian at this time. And like I said, that's the only class I played. I'm pretty much a career barbarian at this point. That's all I play. I have the most fun when I do that. So it felt fine to me. Like and this is a really good sign to me, because it felt fine and we didn't even have access to like go get any sort of any sort of, what is it, the class passive or whatever. Haven't had access the whole time, so for Barb to still feel good to me, I'm really good with it. I I'm pretty convinced I'm just gonna adapt no matter what.
What are your thoughts on some barbarian players? We're talking about how they had a hard time defeating the main. Well, I don't want to say the main boss in the story, perhaps the main boss in the beta. They were having a hard time with that one-on-one fight and feeling like they had to switch classes in order to be able to stand a chance.
Oh no, I mopped that thing. Like, I am so comfortable in what I play. Usually when I play something, I stick with it and I try to find solutions. Um, that's where like being able to tweak the build based on learnings came in. I did hear, sometimes if you wanted to run like a specific fantasy, like if you wanted to be, I don't know, if you wanted to run like dual wield, you might not have gotten anything for dual wield in time and you felt like you had to do something different. I think when I started, I just had like a two-handed sword because I like two-handed stuff and I'm gonna specialize in axe because that's just what we do, baby. Like let me show you this and hopefully y'all can see this. I wield axe. That is what I do. Like, it's my thing. I love axes. So when I just had to get in there and do what I had to do with a friggin' two-handed sword, I was like, "Oh, this is not my fantasy, but okay." Like I knew that eventually I'm going to get the thing that's going to work for me. So it's just one of those things where I worked with what I had and just used it. Like, but no, I didn't find any difficulty in that boss at all. I just did what I needed to do, and I'm trying to friggin' there it is. Yes, I love axes. If you can see this, this is my axe. It took me long enough to
I was waiting for you to finish. I was like, I don't think your axe popped in.
but yeah.
So
So
you didn't use leap or the shoulder charge move, right? So
no,
you just walk.
nope. Pretty much I don't use leap, I don't use whirlwind, I don't use charge, I don't use kick. I use
So
rend.
you're playing like barbarian summoner
Mm,
because you have no mobility,
well,
or barbarian necromancer.
no, because like the thing is that the mobility is going to come in the movement speed. Like that's why in the previous build, I didn't have to worry about movement speed as much because I had other aspects like in the previous betas that would pretty much help out a lot. But in this one, this is one of the things that I had to tweak. It's like, all right, I can't just be slow AF, you know? I have to be able to get around. So then I started putting a little bit of movement speed in and my problem was fine. Like it wasn't a problem anymore. I was able to move. And more so, I incorporated like a shout and was able to get some berserking going on and it just worked. Movement speed worked for me and I was like, all right, that's cool.
How do you not get crowded without any big mobility moves? How do you keep from getting surrounded and getting pounded up on?
I do get crowded, but the thing is that since I touch stuff and they bleed, eventually they die. Also, ground stomp stuns anything that's around me. So if I feel a little too bombarded, I'll just ground stomp to give myself some air.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's fun for me. Like I enjoy it and it's only going to get better. Like I was working today on like um plotting out my build and all that and it's been really fun so far. But yeah, that's my thoughts on like the barb during the
So
slam.
something I noticed is during the last beta, we played
Mhm.
together a lot and did a lot of dungeon runs because we were trying to like farm legendaries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This time around, we did a lot more solo play.
Mhm.
Um, Probably because we both had our own way of going about farming for legendaries. Like you very much so never gave up on ovals, and I very much so felt like farming in any way was a fruitless venture. So um, but on the point that you were just making about mobility, how does it feel to you when you're banking on regular move speed to get through a dungeon and you're playing with someone who's zipping around all over the place, and by the time you get to the room, half of the enemies are already dead? Does that take away from your gameplay experience that you couldn't like keep up mobility wise with that person, or like, or does it not really matter because when you're playing on your own, you don't really like it's two different gameplay experiences, and when you know that when the boss is there, you're gonna be able to do your thing.
Well, for me, and this was another thing that we had to adopt from the previous beta to the slam, like, yeah, you will be zipping around. And I'm just like, okay, that's fine. But in the server slam, more things were coming toward me more so. I didn't have to like chase or anything. So that was really nice. And then the
Hmm.
other thing that's the big takeaway is I'm just going to go in another room and kill stuff there. Or I'm going to go a little bit of a different path and kill things there. Because that way I know I'm still doing my part. I might not be as quick, but like I know we also don't have to worry about legendaries not being picked up, because if you leave it goes into your storage, and if you don't leave it shows up as like an orange star on the map, so you can just go get it when you're in a party. So I really wasn't worried. And this was something that, from like I said, from the previous beta I took and realized, along with like what they were saying about enemies coming toward you more. And I
Yeah.
just used that during the slam to still have a really nice experience. Um,
So on that point, because I
Pardon
know
me.
that some people would complain that some classes have more mobility than others. So when they're playing with their friends, they don't feel like they can keep up and all that stuff. So I wanted to get your take on
Mhm.
that, and you just gave it. But also, on that same point, you just mentioned like enemies come to you more, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the aggression of the enemies coming to you more illegitimizes some options that you would have, like taunts and stuff like that? You do feel like you don't need to taunt because the enemies are going to come to you anyway, so you'll be able to get your AOE off regardless.
No, like taunt still helps because taunt is considered crowd control. And also when you're taunting as Barb, you can get some defense as well when you taunt. So it's definitely not, useless. And taunting is also decent for bosses. Like when we saw the butcher, and I actually had taunt on. Like I didn't bring taunt during the server slam, but previously in the beta, when we saw the butcher, I was like, nope, taunt, come hit me. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes he would ignore it. I guess he has like unstoppable or whatever, or it seemed felt like he would ignore it. But there were times where it's like you're low, and I'm like, all right, he's got to come to me. So I don't feel like taunt is useless just because the mobs will try to swarm you more. If anything, taunt is gonna be useful regardless, because it is still a crowd control move, and there's some pretty cool things you can do with crowd control. So,
Yeah. All right.
all right, well, here. Um, Speaking of, we did our own thing. Um, the feeling on leveling, like, how did you feel about leveling? Because to me, leveling seemed pretty easy overall. Like, I went through the story, and mind you, I skipped a lot because I went through it in the previous beta, so I knew it was coming, so I didn't have to sit through everything. And then by the time I finished the story, I was like around level 16 or maybe 17. So a few more levels was pretty easy, because I was like obol farming en route to destinations, and I didn't really do any side quests at all. I just did I just killed a lot of stuff as I was going from point to point to fill in the blank parts on the map to get the achievements for like the skill points. So leveling really
Yeah.
didn't feel bad. What about for you?
Yeah, leveling felt pretty smooth. I pretty much just did story and I won't say I did any farming like super duper light farming, just like passerby type. And I pretty much got to level 20 without doing any side missions. So I did notice though during the beta that there were times where you would be doing like a world event or whatever they would call it. Um,
Mhm.
and the boss of that world event would be unkillable and his minions would keep spawning. So
Oh, you mean the that was one of I know which one you're talking about. It's like it wasn't a world event. It was like the one of the events for Obels would glitch out and the boss would become unkillable. It's the one where you have to kill the shaman around it in order to do damage to the big thing. Well, the game would act like there was one shaman up sometimes, and when there wasn't. So it would be unkillable, and then that event just would not stop.
yeah. So I'm thinking that if the players can find a way to trigger that, then we'll be able to level up just mega fast. Just sit there in that event and just farm. We had people there with us while we were just randomly doing it, and then that glitch happened, and we seen players going from like level 2 to like level 10 in like 15
Yeah.
minutes. It was crazy.
Yeah, like it happened to me like 3 times, and I think it was the 3rd time because like, you don't get a whole lotta drops from it of stuff you need. Because if the point is to get obols, you're not getting obols from just killing the stuff. But for curiosity's sake, I wanted to know if it was, like, indefinitely glitched, like, pretty much infinitely glitched, so I wanted to see how long it was gonna go, and it never broke, so I was like after, like, 15 minutes, I was like, "Okay, I'm good. I gotta go," because another Ashava was getting ready to spawn.
Yeah, I think it'll probably stay like that until the server like people leave enough to where that instance closes.
Yeah, like, yeah, it was interesting. Hopefully, you do something about that, Blizzard.
Yeah, if not, I will be farming it up. I know shame in my game.